So how can we be resilient through these incredible changes, radical changes that we are going through in the world today and in our own communities and societies? The power of resilience, I would like to introduce Shafak Pavey, next on stage. She is the Senior Advisor, UN High Commissioner for Refugees, and a former member of the Parliament of Turkey.
Thank you. The inscriptions of Hittites, the early owners of the lands that I was born in, contains a prayer to the gods, and it reads like this: give us the courage to change the things we can change, the strength to accept the things that we cannot change, and the intelligence and common sense to separate the two. These writings accompanied my journey while making a meaning of the world. As you all know well, equality does not mean a lot when it comes to taking our share of misfortunes. And however, misfortune is still a part of human journey and human condition. Some have their lives run in order. Mine wasn't exactly like that. I found myself in the middle of making a choice between being the problem or solving the problem after following a train accident when I was 19. Hospital stories are like military service stories for men. For us, it is like sweet and bitter at the same time. I first would like you to look at my left ear, please, and I'm glad camera is in the right angle. As you will see, my left ear is sticking out a little bit. When my mother saw me after the accident, she was angry with me when I was just waking up from the coma. She said, why didn't I use the chance while having all other operations to have my ear fixed as well? And I looked at her and I said to her that, well, I can see that while you're angry at me that I missed the opportunity, you didn't miss yours as you are wearing the shoes that I cannot wear anymore. At the same time, my little brother was actually happy that teacher was so compassionate to him because I had an accident, so he was also happy about that. These things may seem to you like, you know, my family is so opportunistic, but it's not. Afterwards in life, the dialogue actually became the very company in my life, and I learned the power of humor, self-humor, as a way of building resilience for yourself. Like in many other cultures, in my culture as well, a woman with defects on the body did not have much space, much place in the society. The Parisian model Sarah Bernhardt was the first model to have worn the trousers. And if she was still alive, she would have been very surprised with my story of trousers in the parliament. When I took up my elected seat, the most important topic was for men to find a way to enable me to wear trousers in the parliament. You may ask why. Back then, women parliamentarians had a dress code that allowed them only to wear deux pièces, skirt suits, and the habits were such that wearing a skirt with the prosthetic leg showing was not perceived natural in the parliament. The parliament took months to discuss my prosthetic leg and the dress code bylaw. This was despite the fact that there were more urgent issues like the survival of the girls, young girls. A few years prior, at a girls' dormitory in the most primitive conditions, 11 girls were burned alive because of a fire, because the fire exits were locked, to keep them away from evil intents and to keep their chastity intact. Even for the sad commemoration for those girls, we weren't able to see how they looked like because their families did not allow them to have photos, because having a photo of a girl was against the faith. These days I'm working for building resilience and finding innovative solutions for one of the largest societies, communities in the world, that is displaced populations. At one incident, 48 out of 49 asylum seekers who were locked in a truck were found dead. The only person who survived out of that truck was a young woman who managed to keep alive by sucking the oxygen out of the iron bars. For me, her resilience is a unique story, and I decided to follow her story later on as well. Despite all things she faced, in the country that she took refuge in, she learned a new language and built a small business that is lucrative enough to let her to live on her own. Surely these are the true resilience stories that we can all learn from. I came to this meeting directly from Kenya, visiting Kakuma refugee camp. And there lives a generation who were born, who grew up, who studied, who fell in love, some forcefully married, and all became mother, all in one lifetime in the refugee camp. In a conversation, we asked one of the young women her own Sophie's choice. Would she like to live in a refugee camp with the protection, safety, the food security, and shelter that is provided for her? Or would she like to take the chances to get the citizenship of a country, to be part of it without knowing whether she could actually find the basic needs for her own? She chose, without thinking even twice, to have a country to belong, to have a state. As long as there was peaceful conditions to live in for her. So how to avoid the root causes for forced displacement is our question today. Corruption feeds on the ambition of the administrations for debauchery and immorality. Wars feed on dissatisfaction of power or poisoning of power. Violence against women and children feed on the bigotry of traditions. So my proposal is to prepare universal early education module that is against corruption, dissatisfaction, and bigotries. We have to include boys and men all together in the programs to prevent violence against women and to create gender equality as well. It is a must that women should lead such universal values and their goals with their ability of intuition different to the other sex, very strong empathy levels, wisdom to look for help at challenging times, emotional agility, and also bubbly joy and humor. These are the qualities I believe that give women a unique power of resilience, and actually thanking our wider family of Women Leaders Global Forum for bringing us together, reminding us that we are very powerful indeed. Thank you. Thank you.